Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. It's your boy Hector Jesus Garcia back with another video, and today I figured let's chill it. I didn't get out of work till like 1 in the morning last night, so I figured, hey, let's do a chill video. So book review. Now if you follow me on social media, Instagram, right, you'll know that I've been uploading that I've been reading, and in one of my previous videos I did mention I would like to start like a book review series. So basically every month I'll select 2 to 3 books, maybe more depending, like I have to balance work and school, and then it would be a consistent video every month just discussing books I've read. And I actually got quite a few people telling me to do the video. It was only one person but yeah, it's something I want to do. Yeah, I used to love reading. I just picked it up again, not as a New Year's resolution, just have a lot of free time. Without further ado, let's get right into it. But first things first, I want to say, if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, my guy, what are you doing? Make sure you hit that subscribe button, you like the video, comment on the video, and share the video if you enjoyed it. And now let's get into it. So the first book I read this month was The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, Counterintuitive Approach to Living a Good Life by Mark Manson. If this book sounds familiar to my viewers, it might sound familiar if you saw my video, Different Things to Do While in Quarantine, I believe was the title of the video. I don't remember the title of the video. But it's one of the first videos I really did with my sister. This book I bought a while ago. We were on a Target run. It was like around the time quarantine first started, and I saw the book and I said, I might have some free time. I never ended up really reading it during quarantine. I actually only started reading it around the time, like, I spent the 2 weeks at my dad's house because my stepfather had COVID. Don't worry guys, I'm negative. I'm negative, I take care of myself, we chillin'. So essentially, Mark Manson, he's a blogger. He has, it says in the back of it says he is a star blogger with more than 2 million readers. But yeah, so he basically, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck is basically, as it is in the title, a counterintuitive way of viewing life. He basically starts off by pointing out the obvious, that the greatest truths in life are oftentimes the most unpleasant to hear, which I think is something we could all relate to. When we're told we've messed up, or when we're told a toxic trait that we have, nobody wants to hear it. And he kind of goes on this little voyage trying to break it down. And Manson says, because the truth is real unpleasant to hear from time to time, that people most of the time deny it in one of 2 ways. They deny that the problem exists, or they try to play off a victim mentality. So he further deconstructs the truth being unpleasant to hear, that people deny the truth in 1 of 2 ways. They deny the problem exists, or they play victimhood mentality. It's kind of a weird thing to say, because people often say, well, sometimes people are victims, and I think we could agree that sometimes people are victims of their circumstances and such. But what he's trying to say is, it's not necessarily victim mentality in that you're not a victim of your circumstances, is you made a poor decision, and instead of owning up to the decision you made, you decided to play victim some way, shape, or form, right? Which is true. Like, some people make bad decisions and people want to play the victim, like, oh, I didn't know what I was thinking, instead of taking responsibility, which is something I agree with, right? I agree with the first notion more than the second one. I think more people just would rather deny their problems exist. There's definitely victimhood mentality, in my opinion, but for sure, I think the first of the 2 methods is more prominent. He also, this is where the counterintuitive part of the book comes. He says that instead of trying to live a life without any problems, you should change up your values so that you have a life with good problems. because essentially it says there's no point in suffering without value. But he basically breaks it down saying that, if you look at parents, right, they do make sacrifices, and there is some suffering in trying to provide the best for your children, but there's value in that, right? You're providing for someone else, you're trying to give someone else better opportunities than you had, right? A parent who really loves their child would do anything in the world for their child to grow up in better circumstances, have better opportunities and resources than the parent did growing up. So I could see where he comes from in that. I think a lot of people would shrug off that claim though, because people think problems inherently are bad. I disagree, and this is something I agree with him also when he starts saying to change up your values. So instead of putting shitty values in your life, you should remove those shitty values, because what he says is the quality of values you place on your life have a direct correlation with the nature of your problems and the quality of your lives, because values affect those. For example, somebody who values, we've seen it, right? People who value money are never truly happy, because at the end of the day, there's a never-ending world of money, right? As rich as Jeff Bezos is, if all he cared about was money, it doesn't matter that he's worth $200 billion, because there's always going to be $200 billion more dollars in the world that he can accumulate. He's never going to stop accumulating wealth, so he'll never be happy. However, if you value family, that's one of the greatest values there is. He gives a good example of a guitarist. I forget the name, but essentially this guitarist got kicked out of a rock band in LA, I think in the 70s or 80s. And the guitarist would use him being kicked out as fuel to start his own band, and he said he was going to be greater than the band he got kicked out of. This guitarist would be part of a group. I can't remember the name of the group. If I'm editing this video, I'll put it on the title on the screen. This guitarist would be part of a band that would sell out over 25 million albums worldwide, and he would tour the world. The problem though is because his value was measured in being better than the band that kicked him out, he grew to be an alcoholic, and he grew to be rather sad and unsatisfied with quite a legendary career. I think if anyone were to sell 25 million albums worldwide and tour the world and be considered one of the greats in your genre, you would consider that a successful career, right? Whether you're the greatest or not. But he wasn't satisfied, and it's because his value was measured in beating the band that kicked him out. And the band that kicked him out would be known as ADDC. I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't listen to heavy metal, I'm sorry. ADDC. And if you know ADDC, like, I never listened to their music, and I knew who ADDC was. I have a few of their songs saved on my Spotify account, and that's where the problem lies, Manson says, because he chose value in being better than ADDC, but ADDC is regarded as one of the greatest musical acts of all time, because they've sold, I think Manson said, over like 150 million albums worldwide. So Manson basically says, this is an example of how values affect your life. To be honest, I never thought of life that way, and that your values do have a direct correlation with the problems and quality of life. I definitely thought of it before as, your values do determine the quality of your life, right? Like, if you value money over, human decency, I guess you'll look for ways to be an asshole to people just to get an extra dollar, right? But it's definitely some good lessons in this book, and if we exercise more responsibility over our lives, if we choose to be more responsible for our lives, we're capable of controlling our lives more, if that makes sense, right? Because we all have the power to choose values, the values we hold dear to heart, right? Whether you value money over family or family over money, that's an individual choice, right? And for sure, the environment you grow up in can have an influence. But that's also Manson's point is, there has to be some level of individual responsibility over each lives. Because at the end of the day, you're an individual, right? You have the power to choose whether your actions are good or bad, right? And, he also encompasses the value argument one last time that there's such a thing as sustainable pleasures and sustainable success compared to short-term pleasure and success. He uses drug examples, like someone who shoots meth in their system, right? They get quick pleasure and they feel quick, happiness, but it fades quite quickly, and they're always looking to shoot more and more drugs into their system before that pleasure ultimately turns into chaos and sadness, right? Like before they OD and die. Don't get me wrong. There are some parts of the book I zoned in and out of. I didn't even realize how much of a philosophy, self-help book this is. This is like the first self-help book I've ever read. But it's good. It's definitely funny. So if you're someone who isn't about explicit language, if you're definitely someone who cringes at explicit language, this might not be the book for you. I mean, clearly by the title, The Art of Not Giving a Fuck. It's a good book. I would recommend it to anybody who wants maybe a different viewpoint of how to approach life. Definitely with self-help books, my only advice would be definitely be critical. I think it's good to be critical of advice, but I think this man does some good. He definitely beats the point beyond the dead horse at times, right? But overall, I think the point is sincere. I think he makes good argument for choosing the right values we approve in our life. I'll give this book a solid 4 out of 5. If my rating means anything to you, how I would recommend you get this book. I would. Now, the second and final book I read this this month is a Star Wars novel. I think I've mentioned on this channel I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and reading Star Wars books aren't an exception. So I read a book based on my favorite character in Star Wars, Ahsoka. Bam! You thought I was gonna say some guy like Han Solo or some shit, right? Nah. Truth be told, my favorite character used to be Darth Vader, but then I watched Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and somehow Ahsoka became my favorite character. After Revenge of the Sith, this book takes place after like Order 66. It follows Ahsoka, trying to avoid the Empire at all costs, because obviously in this world post Order 66, the Galactic Empire rules the galaxy. And to put in simple terms, the Galactic Empire are the bad guys, right? And Darth Vader is part of the Galactic Empire, right? And in this world, Jedi are to be killed, right? Anybody who is a Jedi, it doesn't matter whether you are a young Padawan training to be a Jedi, you could have been a young child and had Force powers and were trained to be a Jedi, you were executed. That's the basic gist of Order 66. She's on the run, and she lands on this planet called Rada, which is a farming planet. And, she makes friends, but then the Galactic Empire shows up to Rada, and all hell seems to break loose. I'm trying not to spoil this book so much for you guys. She does lead a revolt against the Empire, and, she does go through an internal struggle, because if, according to the Jedi way, she wants to help, right? But the Jedi way of old, there was a lot of restrictions, and this is what led her to leave the Jedi Order. And she really does struggle between trying to have balance. Now, ultimately, she does have I guess you could say a coming to light moment where, she decides she wants to do good no matter what. And eventually she meets up with a character named Bail Organa, who would form what is known as the Resistance. And the Resistance, you know, is where we get characters like Princess Leia, Han Solo, Chewie, Luke Skywalker, all that, right? They were part of the Resistance in the movie 4 through 6. You know, and one thing we come to find out is that the Galactic Empire, although it's not shown in movies 4 through 6, in the books, and definitely in the video games, if you play Jedi the Fallen Order, I'm fucking stupid. If you play Jedi the Fallen Order, there's people known as Inquisitors, which are basically people who are capable of using the Force. They're just not as Force sensitive as Jedi or, you know, Sith Lords. And they hunt Jedi. It's more efficient than just throwing blasters and, you know, shit like that at them. But yeah, this book really is good. I enjoyed it. It definitely has its flaws, right? It definitely starts off quite slow. But it does pick up around the 5th or 6th chapter, which honestly is like 60 pages in. If you think 60 pages is a lot, then you need to start reading. But it is a good book. I know with the new trilogy, you know, one critique of Star Wars some people seem to have is there not a lot of strong female characters. I could assure you, when it comes to Star Wars is over 40, 50 years old. I believe the first movie came out in the 70s. Yeah, it's about 50 years old. It's a 50-year-old franchise. The reason it's been able to last so long is because of the comic books, the video games, the novels. And to all the, you know, I guess if I have girls watching this video, there are strong female characters in the Star Wars universe, Ahsoka being one of them. In my opinion, she's actually probably the best written character in all of Star Wars. And I think the only person that comes close is Darth Vader. I think both of them are tied for the best written characters in the entire Star Wars universe. I would definitely recommend this book. Again, I enjoyed it. There are some parts you might not get, especially if you're not familiar with the Star Wars universe. But overall, it is an easy, fun little space adventure to follow. And I think most people would like the book. I mean, if you don't like Star Wars, you might not definitely like it. You may not like it, right? It's Star Wars is, you know, you might not like it. But I definitely would recommend it. I give it a solid 4 out of 5. Not the best sci-fi fiction book I've read, but definitely a book I like, and it's nice to see that my favorite character in Star Wars has a really solid book behind it. Those are the books I read this month. So for the month of September, yes, because this book review is for the month of October, I'll be attempting to read 3 books, right? My college semester is starting to pick up. Hopefully I have enough time in between trying to keep up with my American Sign Language class, which probably will take up the majority of my time. The books I'll be reading this month is The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murray. I have quite a few books. I didn't realize how many like self-help or philosophical books I have, which is quite interesting. I'm gonna be reading another Star Wars book, Lords of the Sith by Paul S. Kemp, and I will be reading Fortitude, American Resilience in the Era of Outrage by United States Representative and Navy SEAL Dan Crenshaw. Those are the 3 books I'll be reading in September. This is a series I do want to do every month if you guys are interested. I know, I think reading can be quite fun. So I hope you guys have a good day. If you did like this video, make sure you like it and share the video if you think it's quality content. I try to bring you guys nothing but the best I possibly can. Believe me, I take pride in thinking I bring you guys the best quality I can. Subscribe if you haven't. Let's try to hit 100 before the end of the year. But until then, have a blessed day, everybody. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys on the next one. See ya.